Well, Aaron, no official response yet on the second spy balloon development that you've just said there. But decision making here, look, it's a complete black box. Even here in Beijing, we're often just left with the official statement and what state media is saying. But what's extraordinary is that earlier the government expressed regret. It's extremely rare. I can't remember this happening in my time covering China, and it's a big shift from the regular playbook of just hitting back or denying. But potentially that was an effort to keep the Blinken meeting on track. The government actually apologizing for what it had called a weather balloon flying off course, a claim, of course, which the Pentagon rejects. But state media here is putting out headlines saying this balloon isn't a big deal and accusing the U.S. of hyping it up. So this is what a China Daily editorial said, quote, "This is not a media event, but rather a political balloon from Washington to maneuver the domestic audience. It's hard to imagine any big country in the world will be clumsy enough to rush spy balloons into the airspace of other countries when it owns its own reconnaissance satellites." So, Aaron, we're really left with the mystery of why Beijing allowed it to happen. Maybe not even once, but multiple times, and if it was deliberate or an accident. It's embarrassing for Beijing, and it derails this meeting with Secretary of State Antony Blinken that Beijing had been gearing up for months for, Aaron.
So, Selena, what happens here? Obviously, the U.S., from all signals we have, also was planning to go ahead with that meeting, even when they knew about the spy balloon, right? It was when the spy balloon became known by the American public that the Secretary of State Blinken delayed the meeting, right? So it was the public knowledge that caused the problem here. So what happens now?
Well, I mean, there were already low expectations for any concrete outcomes from Blinken's trip to China, but the whole point of the trip was to put guardrails on the relationship. And this event, it just underscores the growing mutual distrust between both sides and what some experts say is why a face-to-face meeting right now is more important than ever. Although, of course, there were those constraints, the public knowledge that you mentioned. But what's important to acknowledge here is that it's not in Chinese leader Xi Jinping's interest for this meeting to be canceled. This was supposed to be a part of China's reopening to the world after ending zero COVID, and this really sours the mood after the goodwill that was built between the two sides on the sidelines of the G20 in November.
All right, Selena.